Greetings, folks. AnIolairGhorm here with a World of Warships replay. This is Lynn Wilkie in the premium Tier 6 Japanese battleship, the Mutsu. Lynn is divisioned with myself in the Tier 6 German battleship, the Bayern, although this replay will not include my perspective in the Bayern, since frankly my performance in the battle isn't particularly exciting, and secondly, there are different parts during the battle where I sound a little bit like a grumpy old man barking orders, and you'll see my comments showing up now and again in chat. This is a domination match on two brothers. There are no carriers, which is nice, and we are middle tier. As far as ship upgrades and commander skills, Lynn's commander is Yamamoto. He has a heavy focus on secondaries. The Japanese battleships do carry potent secondaries, and they're particularly known for firing AP, which can citadel light cruisers in close quarters, which is always interesting when it happens. And we will see the secondaries in action during this battle. Highlights for the match will focus on how Lynn fulfills his role not only as a battleship, but also operates a little bit like a destroyer and a little bit like a cruiser. So Lynn and I have agreed to split up here to ensure that there are two battleships on each flank. And as we head out into initial positions, let me talk a little bit about the Mutsu. So the Mutsu is basically a Nagato with the same artillery, but it has weaker armor and it has a weaker torpedo bulge. But the trick up its sleeve is that the Mutsu carries torpedoes in two single launchers on each side of the ship. And these torpedoes have a 7-kilometer range, which means that they're really intended for close quarter engagements and ambush situations. And they're a little bit sluggish at 57 knots, but that's usually not so much of an issue when you're in close quarters. What is really kind of interesting is that these torpedoes reload in 21 seconds, which means that they can reload, which means they do reload faster than the main guns. And this you have to keep in mind if you were going up against a Mutsu. Now, the Mutsu carrying 410 millimeter rifles like the Nagato are the biggest at tier 6. These make them very potent for this tier, and are very formidable against any target. And they do carry the sort of traditional Japanese accuracy and Sigma. The main downside for the Mutsu, like I mentioned earlier, is that the Mutsu carries weaker armor than the Nagato, and so is more easily citadeled. And it also has a worse torpedo protection. And so you have to keep that in mind when you're sailing this ship. So let me go back to the gameplay. So like I said, Lynn and I had split up on the different flanks. Lynn is operating from some range here because we haven't neutralized the torpedo threats on the west flank. And you can see that there's one of the opposing destroyers is in Echo 1. And the other destroyer on this flank is actually in the Alpha Cap, although we can't see him. He's in a smoke screen right now. So Lynn is focusing on targets of opportunity, including this Perth that's now turning broadside to him. We have lost our first ship. In fact, we now lost our second ship. We lost an Omaha on the west flank, and there was a nice citadel on the Perth. We lost an Omaha on the west flank, which was First Blood, but probably more importantly, we've now lost the other battleship on the east flank that was with me, which was the Scharnhorst, and he was taken out by the opposing kamikaze. And this is part of the reason that my gameplay was not very effective as the battleship, because the kamikaze continued to operate with pretty much indiscretion on the east flank. We do see him now and again, and he will show up periodically. But the Farragut player on our side, he did secure Delta, which is good. But he, in my opinion, he didn't make a strong enough effort to spot and to help locate the opposing kamikaze so that we could take him out. Because if we were able to take out the destroyer on the east flank, I would be much more comfortable pushing into the cap, helping to defend it, and push off on the other ships that were in the Delta region. So so let's go back to Lin's side here on the west side. So we've successfully evened up the ship count, but we are losing Delta, again, due to the kamikaze that has moved into that cap. And the opposing team is taking Alpha without being contested at this point. We do see both the Nuremberg and the Farragut in the Alpha cap, but they've now successfully taken that cap, and like I said, they're about to take Delta as well. You can see that folks are continuing to ping on the map and say, hey, we need to recover on the Delta side, but I am hesitant to push into the cap without knowing where this torpedo threat is. I have a kamikaze myself. I know how effective and how potent they can be. They have very good concealment, and they have very quick loading torpedoes, and so it's hard for me as a battleship, and Lin is having to operate in this way as well. It's very hard as a battleship to move in and help push flanks if we aren't doing enough to try to neutralize the torpedo threats on the flank. We've now lost a third ship, but then we even things up with a kill on the Nuremberg. So Lin now has his first kill of the match, and he's up to 42k in damage. And he's also now spotting. So now the opposing Mutsu, which we had previously seen on the one line, has made it around and is trying to now ambush Lin. And here you can see the secondary starting to go off. Some of these are going to be armor piercing, others are going to be high explosive. He will set the Mutsu on fire here in just a moment. And here you can see him trying to gauge on how and when he sends torpedoes. Again, they are two single torpedo launchers. That's why the band is very narrow here. He has been able to get a few secondary hits on. He's also been able to get a few shell hits on this Mutsu. He knows the Mutsu is sending, and so he's turning back. And the Mutsu has realized the error of how he's approached this problem, or approached the engagement, but it's too late, and Lin is able to get his second kill of the game. And so in that way, Lin was acting a little bit like a cruiser to help take out one of the destroyers on this flank. So that definitely helped. Fortunately, one of the Allied destroyers on the west flank, which is the Acosta, has moved back into the cap to help try to contest it. And then you can also see on the east side the Farragut that had previously taken that cap, is back in the cap trying to contest it as well. But we have a one-ship deficit. We only hold one cap at this point, and so things aren't looking very good. We've lost most of the west flank, and Lin is having to operate in sort of a tactical retreat at this point to stay alive but still keep pressure, or at least delay the advance of the team on the west side. We've now successfully evened up the ship count by taking out the Arizona that had moved into the Delta cap, but our Farragut has left the cap again, and you can now see where we did briefly detect the kamikaze that was in the cap, but the Farragut has disengaged. The Farragut will comment here in a moment that he did get a torpedo on the kamikaze, but he doesn't go back to try to relocate the kamikaze and get the kamikaze out of the game. And this is why I continue to sort of be, when I say I mean myself in the Bayern, that you can see in Hotel 7, I continue to kind of be in an operational retreat because I don't know where this destroyer is, and the destroyer has clearly now moved closer to us so that he can get torpedoes on us. Lin has now lost all of the allies on the west flank, including the Acosta that had moved back into Alpha to try to contest that cap. And so Lin continues to operate in a tactical retreat. We're back in a situation where we have a one-ship deficit. And again, we only hold one cap at this point out of the 4. So here you see in chat, I'm asking the Helena whether he has hydro. Maybe I should have been a little clearer to him. I was actually kind of hoping he would come with me so that we could use the hydro as some predictive defense against the torpedoes from the kamikaze, and we could have moved as a group back into the Delta Cap to try to locate the kamikaze and take him out of the match. But the Helena gets the idea to follow the Texas that is now going down the center towards the Bravo Cap. So I'm not in a position as the battleship without some sort of predictive support on the torpedoes to try to go after the kamikaze. Although now the Farragut is now going back in to the Cap. He has now, we now have briefly redetected the kamikaze. The kamikaze went back to a Bravo. I'm not sure why. And there Lynn gets his third kill by finishing off a low health destroyer on this flank. So now we know that the remaining destroyer on the opposing team, the kamikaze, is actually well outside torpedo range for me, or his torpedoes. I'm outside his torpedo range in the Bayern. And so I'm able to push in a little closer and put pressure on the opposing Bayern, which is in Echo 10. And Lynn is now having to move back here to try to, again, further delay the advance of the opposing team. He is in a little bit of a crossfire situation here between the Duke of York and the Congo. So this is a potentially fairly dangerous situation for him. However, again, the Mutsu has torpedo systems, and so Lynn is sending some torpedoes in advance here to try to head off the battleship, or either that or the Perth, which was still in, which has now just showed up. That was a pretty nice salvo on the Duke of York. And here again, you can see how quickly the torpedoes come back up. He's already sent another set here on the Duke of York. But here come the torpedoes from the Perth. He's going to take 2 torpedoes, and you can see how much damage he took from the 2 torpedoes. And so he has repaired the flooding, but he's got to wait another 30 seconds or so before his repair party is up. And there he gets set on fire again. But he's able to get a salvo on the Perth and is able to take the Perth out. And he gets a torpedo on the Duke of York, and he takes the York out, and he gets both Kraken unleashed. There goes the fireworks because of the Yamamoto commander, but he also gets a double strike on sinking both of those ships. So now we've actually gotten a ship advantage, and we have secured Delta, but we're behind because the opposing team held caps for so long. Looks like the opposing cruiser, the de Grasse, has sent torpedoes. So Lynn is trying to get closer to the Congo. He's going to keep his bow on the Congo. So I should also note that both the Helena and the Texas on our team that went down the center channel, they were both taken out by ships in Bravo that were waiting for them. Here Lynn has gotten the Confederate to go along with the Kraken Unleashed and the double strike. Now the opposing Helena that is in Bravo is extremely low health, and there's the high caliber to go along with the other achievements. Yeah, the Helena on the opposing team is very low health. He literally has like 300 hit points. Again, this is where some of my frustration as the grumpy old man comes through, because I was very frustrated that our Farragut did detect the Helena, but he didn't fire on him to finish off the Helena, because we do need the points, and the kamikaze would not be a gun threat, and there's an island separating the Farragut from the Bayern. So the only threat that the Farragut would really face would be the Helena. And there the de Grasse, along with Lin's fire, is able to take out the Congo, and that eliminates all opponents here on the west flank. And so now Lin is going to go act like a destroyer and go help cap the Alpha Cap, because we definitely need the cap to start closing the differential on the points. We still do have a one ship advantage. And again, here you can see in chat, I'm continuing to type, Farragut, can you please spot something so I can help fight it? Again, my concern in moving too close in the cap is, again, I don't know where the kamikaze is. And later on in the battle, the kamikaze will show up in relatively close quarters to me, and I will have to make some evasive maneuvers to avoid torpedoes that he will send. So Lin's going to work down this west flank with the de Grasse and go capture Alpha, and then he's going to head back towards the Charlie Cap. And then I'm going to go, I and the Bayern am going to eventually turn in towards the Delta Cap and face off against the opposing Bayern, because the opposing Bayern has slightly fewer hit points than myself. And I think at this point I still had at least one heal remaining, or one repair party, so I could go and potentially tank against him. So we're now getting the Alpha Cap. The opposing team is only 74 points from winning, although now they're only getting points from one cap. You can see now that I've gotten a couple of good salvos on the Bayern and have widened the margin between his health and mine. The opposing Helena actually moved up the center channel, is actually the one that's in Charlie at this point. And I had mentioned to Lin in chat while the game was going on, or during voice comms, that the opposing Helena was very low on health. And there I'm able to finish off the opposing Bayern. Though he did actually get a really good salvo on me very late in the exchange, but I had a repair party ready, so I'm able to regain some of the health. And it will be here in just a few moments that I will spot the opposing kamikaze, and there you can see him in Delta 6 or Delta 7. So I'm now having to make a very aggressive turn here and try to sail away from the kamikaze, hoping that I either outdistance the torpedoes or am able to thread them if when he does send them. We haven't detected the Helena at this point. So he's got to be in the very northern part of the cap, and there he is. See, he's almost dead. But we've now taken the lead because we sank one more ship and we've helped secure another cap. So we're only just a few seconds away. And there you can see torpedoes following my Bayern, but I am able to avoid them. And in fact, actually, if I had been sunk by them, we would have lost. But in the end, we do end up winning. So a very good match for Lin. Like I said, he kind of played the role of multiple different ships as a not only as a battleship, but also a little bit like a cruiser and a little bit like the destroyer. So I hope you enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.